Hello, true duelists. It's me, Walmart brand Hungrybox, and welcome to the Yu-Gi-Oh update. It's the new year and the new format, and with that we get our first look at the changes that have impacted our metagame thanks to the ban list. The Millers are banned, and Rescue Ace, Unchained, and Pearly have all seen slaps on the wrist in some kind. Ib, the World Chalice just this year, and Snatch Stealer back in the game. So many changes and so much potential, and so many regionals to take a look at to see what it is exactly was popping off. Take, for example, the German Open, which saw just over 500 players in attendance and whose top 8 featured known threats such as Fire King, Rescue Ace, and Unchained, as well as Runic Bestial and Tearlament. Yeah, nothing, bet you didn't see those decks coming, did you? No Millers and Tearlament, doesn't matter because there's no losses either, or no meaningful ones because they won the entire event. It's a new format and Tear is still a good deck. It's crazy. It's no Millers, I know, but there's Horus Tear to make Zombie Vampire and still get to milling, or Kashtira Fenrir to search Tearlament's Kashtira to get to the milling. It's still a good deck. How much more really needs to be said? That being said, I do like the addition of the Rescue Ace package in the side deck from this list. 3 Impulse and a Fire Attacker, with the idea being that you can tag Impulse into the plane, and then the plane will let you draw 2 and discard 1 by card effects when the opponent adds a card from their deck to the hand. So it's a little way to chain a search from the opponent and then ultimately pitch ideally a Tearlament name into the graveyard to get your fusions going on the opponent's turn, just like Tearlament loves to do. But don't worry folks, if you wanted something a little different, we can also take a look at the regional in Richmond last weekend that also saw some 500 players in attendance. Bet there was a whole bunch of Ib shenanigans and snatch stealing of games there, right? No, it's just Rescue Ace. It was just a lot of Rescue Ace. And that's who won. I mean, it was a pretty standard build of Rescue Ace these days, all in on Wanted and Sinful Spoils, because it's just Rescue. It's pretty sick. It's almost like there wasn't that big of an impact. The last event I'll mention is one I get to pronounce live in real time because I did plan to look this up, but I didn't, and now we get to watch me fumble through this. Heiligen Drei Kong? Nope. I know I got the lack. Konnichiwa? I'm so all over the place here, dude. There was a German event last weekend as well. And my apologies to my German audience, but in my defense, that wasn't worse than however it is I said Swap Frog in German. And if you don't believe me, there's like a Mermail deck profile where you can watch me really butcher a language. Still, this event was a 282-person regional that was notable for having 14 unique decks in its top 16. It's not all that interesting that, say, Unchained and Pearly topped, but when they're each only getting 1 slot, and also getting 1 slot, you see decks like Drytron and Trickstar, it definitely, perks your eyebrow up a little bit. What year is this? Granted, this is a slightly smaller event, and it's not a YCS, but it's not like Rescue Ace at a regional is significantly weaker than Rescue Ace at a YCS, beyond the obvious difference being the side deck, because how effective are the 15 cards of your side deck when you have to potentially play and prepare for 13 other mostly unique decks? I'm just saying, Pearly's a pretty easy deck to beat when you can side for it, but I don't know if the side silver bullets for Pearly are all that good when you're playing against Fire King and Drytron and. This is, of course, a topic of much debate as to whether or not a diverse meta is a good or a bad thing, and you can go ahead and tell me, because I don't have any horse in this race. It's the meta. I can't afford it anyways. There's definitely the ongoing discussion about that, and regardless of whether or not you think that the more or less diverse meta is a good thing, there's endless opportunities for you to be needlessly toxic to whichever side you're against. So that we stand a toxic king around here, and by that I of course mean whatever your fucking opinion is, be a dude, not a dick. It's just a card game. You're allowed to have preferences different from other people. In some merch news, Konami's approved content creators have had the chance to open up early boxes of Maze of Milennia, and as such, we have the full set list. There's of course the new Flame Swordsman cards that exist now that I've gone over in a new card report if you're so interested, as well as the TCG imports from Animation Chronicle 2023, which means the fancy rare Junk Warrior alt art and Quarter Century Secret Rare, the new Earthbound cards, as well as some fun ofs like maybe Dark World Colorless and the Eye of Illusion quick play spell. Oh, and you know, the meta impactful Bonfire for all the new fire decks and transaction rollback for Labyrinth. If you're curious about the prices of the cards, well, Gamer's Choice, one online retailer with whom I have no ties, had Bonfire listed for $80 initially, and then it sold out and got restocked at $90, and that promptly sold out. Rollback, meanwhile, is going for $40 for the ultra rare copy and $80 for the collectors, which is lore accurate overall for all these things because the Diabellstar engine is pricey, so Bonfire should be $2 or something. For reprints, there's a handful. Most notably, though, would go to Triple Tactics Thrust, getting an ultra rare print currently sitting at $40 on pre-order. By far the biggest winner of this set beyond those imports, as after this, there's really not a whole lot that's mind-boggling. Like Rescue Ace Hydrant and Turbulence are getting reprints, as well as like most or all of the Rescue Ace Spell and Trap lineup. Magispector Bunbuku's got a reprint along with most of the Magispector engine or the monsters from what I saw, and there are some Altergeist cards as well. Beyond that, unless you're interested in say a collector's rare reprint of Jet Synchron, well, I hope you really like Bonfire and can pull it or afford it. The set's fine in the capacity of importing Animation Chronicle because it did that, and the reprints are really just Thrust, which leans towards keeping Thrust a little pricey, so that kind of sucks. And also there's the fact that you only get 3 ultra rares per box, and Bonfire is at minimum $90 fucking on pre-order, so that also kind of sucks. But I guess that does segue easily enough into my next segment. Oh sweet fuck, it's an expensive year to be playing Yu-Gi-Oh! That's right, once again, the cost of the game debate has come up, namely because of the aforementioned super expensive Bonfire. Now, as I mentioned earlier, $130 on pre-sale does not mean $130 final. It could go down, but realistically, if it gets as low as $60, personally, I'll be shocked. If I'm right or wrong, we'll find out. But even if Bonfire's only $60 and it's only $180 for the playset, the Fire.deck engines that are set to dominate the meta are not at all inexpensive. You're looking at $130 for Wanteds. You're looking at a 60 to who knows for Bonfires. Diabellstar's still $30, which isn't that bad, but adds up quickly when you're stacking hundreds, especially with those 2 SP Little Knights you probably want, which are also rocking about 100 apiece. Not at all an inexpensive engine. Matter of fact, it's such an expensive engine when you convert to Canadian that Top Cut Podcast's own Giant Skyhawk has decided to step away from the game indefinitely, saying that until Konami can improve the game, in particular to this topic right now in regards to pricing, but also ban list, but I'm focusing on the pricing aspect, they have no interest in continuing pay per play. They just can't get behind the shenanigans, for lack of a better term, which is understandable. That whole engine's like $1,000-ish in Canadian dollars. Canada bucks kind of sucks. What can I say? Rhyme, so it's true. Either way, it's inevitable that this debate will come up. It happened in Age of Overlord because of Wanted and SP Little Knight. And even, what is it, M-SETI, the Horus card is like 70 to 80-ish. Was not an inexpensive set in the slightest. Bonfire is just kind of rubbing salt in the wound into a meta that had already been pretty damn unattainable and unaffordable for a number of the player base. Whether or not you think, yeah, that's just the game or the game needs to be better, it doesn't matter because you'll be telling everyone is sharing their opinions on this. Even me. Obviously, I'm not too fond of it. Regardless of whether or not I think it's okay for cards to cost this much, I also would prefer to not have to spend that much. Even if you give me $50 billion, if I had the option between paying $60 for an individual copy of Bonfire or $60 for a playset, I'm always going to choose $60 for a playset. That's just the way the world. If you disagree with that, you probably invested in Bonfires with the intention of turning it around. There's countless debates on this. There's countless debates on whether, like, the ethics behind it. It's nothing we haven't seen before. This happens usually once a year, probably. And now that I report on it, I see it way more often than I used to. Cards come out, they get expensive, and the debate comes up. SEMO has planned, or is planning, or maybe did by the time you're seeing this, have a debate on Twitch with 2 people arguing in favor for high prices in Yu-Gi-Oh! And 2 people arguing in favor of the no to high prices. It's just the hot topic. And that's really what this story is that there is once again a contentious debate about money and the expense of playing a children's card game. Now, I am completely off script here. I'm redoing, this is a double take and I'm still going too long. I'll wrap it up by just saying it's still funny to me that this is over a Pyro Rhoda. If you had taken this gun and held it to my head some, like 8 months ago and said, you motherfucker, you're gonna be mad that you have to pay hundreds of dollars for a Pyro exclusive Rhoda. And I would tell you, you are insane, not only for pointing a gun at my head and doing this, but also for insinuating that a Pyro Rhoda could ever be good or playable. And as it turns out, that guy was right. My hypothetical murder man was in the correct here. It's all for a Rhoda. Again, I know it's 3 more. It's consistency. It gets you your starter. That gets the whole combo. I fully understand that why it's good. Why Rhoda is a good thing in a deck. It's just really funny to me that Rhoda has hit $130, but Rhoda for fucking Pyro. That shit's just funny. Almost as funny as this hard transition to selling you something else. Speaking of expensive things, did you know you can not play Yu-Gi-Oh! Sometimes? You can just back out of a format. But when you back out of Yu-Gi-Oh! For a little bit because you don't want to play due to the expense or the format or whatever, what do you do with those trading cards? I'll tell you what you do. You throw them in an LIFD magnetic display. That's right, the sponsor of today's video and the #1 way to support my channel, the true Duelist approved way to show off your favorite cards. Yeah, you bought 3 copies of the Fire King structure deck. Yeah, you kind of wanted to do some fire shenanigans. No, you can't afford Wanted. What do? Put them on display, call it a day. I'll get you 15% off one of these, whether you get the individual card model or the 3-card model like I've got here. Yugioh Strats 15. Type it in at the discount code at checkout or click a link in the description to have that apply automatically. Thanks, of course, to LIFD for the support as always, and thank you for watching. As always, I've been your host, Gregory Feganite. What did I say at the beginning? Walmart Hungry Box. Thanks for watching. I'll be here all week. And remember, when you hit subscribe, not only will you be getting constant updates, totally awesome, accosting your eyes in a good way, you'll also immediately impress your smoking Italian wife, and best of all, you'll become a true duelist. So don't waste any time, folks. Hit subscribe.